So over the last couple of weeks ago, we've been getting a lot of UFC announcements, and I haven't made a video like this in a very long time, so I believe I've got 16 fights that were recently announced to talk about in this video. So I'm going to make the intro rather short because I've got 16 fights to talk about, and I'm always going to be using Big Marcel 24's Instagram. He is the one that obviously posts the fights, not always first, but he's always correct. He always makes sure that the fights are confirmed before he posts them, which is what a lot of people respect about Marcel. And another thing, you will have noticed I just got a pop filter. It arrived today. I'm hoping it works. I just turned my microphone gain up a little bit, so hopefully those pops are reduced just a little bit thanks to the pop filter. If it doesn't work, I'm going to have to turn my microphone gain down again. And another thing, it's Valentine's Day, so happy Valentine's Day to everyone out there. As you guys can see, I am recording on the 14th of February around 5 p.m. Yeah, I don't have a Valentine this year, but there's always next year. Let's get into the first fight. It's Emin Shabazian taking on AJ Dobson. That was announced 33 minutes ago at the time of me recording this video. And also, it's a replacement fight. So it was originally meant to be Shabazian versus Dusko Todorovic, but now AJ Dobson has stepped in on relatively short notice, I guess like 6-7 weeks notice or so. I do think it's a good matchup still for Shabazian. I thought he was going to be able to knock out Dusko pretty easily. I think it's a harder fight for Shabazian, to be honest with you. But at the end of the day, I do think that Dobson is a guy that I'm just not super sold on at the moment. And Shabazian, he's still a good prospect in a way, like he's still a good striker. He just had a very nightmare matchup, I believe, in his last fight. I think we're going to be able to see Shabazian take on this kind of level of the UFC middleweight division. He's still a good striker. He's still got KO power. He's still pretty young. Let's move on. I think Shabazian will win that one. And now we move on to probably the lowest level fight, I think, in UFC history, maybe. Caio Machado's taking on Dontale Mayes, or Dontail Mayes, I believe is actually how you meant to pronounce his name. This is very low level heavyweights. I don't know if I'm just not sold on Caio Machado. It should be fun though, I guess. I mean, Caio Machado comes forward like a maniac. He swings like a maniac for the first round, but he's got no cardio. And then Dontail Mayes is a striker. He's a kickboxer, and he's kind of fun because he throws like jumping kicks and spinning kicks. He's kind of fun heavyweight. I guess for now I am going to lean with Dontail Mayes, just off the top of my head, obviously, with these announcements being pretty recent. But yeah, I think Dontail Mayes beats Machado. He's the better striker. Machado's the much better grappler. But at the end of the day, if you look at Machado's record, he's beaten 54-year-olds, 44-year-olds, and I think like 42-year-olds. Like, he was fighting guys that are older than my dad before he fought on Dana White's Contender Series, and he took on that fraud, Kevin Szymanski. Man, I'm angry at Kevin. And then Umar Nurmagomedov versus Beksat Amakhan was official. I have actually made a video talking about this. I think I titled it like, does nobody want to fight Umar Nurmagomedov or something like that? And yeah, maybe no one wants to fight Umar, or maybe the UFC is just like, hey, this Beksat dude is pretty good. Let's test him against Umar Nurmagomedov. I don't know, man, because I feel like Jonathan Martinez is free at the moment, so maybe Umar could have fought him. Maybe Umar could have fought Corey Sandhagen, but maybe Sandhagen's going to be injured for a while. He's going to be out for a while, maybe. I have already made a video on this. I actually think Beksat Amakhan's a really good fighter. I just don't think he's good enough to beat Umar Nurmagomedov. But to be fair, most of the entire UFC roster probably isn't good enough to beat Umar. So that's no shame to him. I think Beksat's going to be really good in the UFC, even if he does lose to Umar. Let's go on to a pretty low-level fight. To be honest, it's Austin Hubbard. He's getting a second run in the UFC, despite losing on the Ultimate Fighter, taking on Mikhail Figlak, who actually really disappointed me in his debut. I believe he took on Faris Siam in France, and he just didn't really do anything. But Mikhail Figlak is actually a pretty fun fight. He's got a fighter. He's actually got a brother that's pretty good as well. But Mikhail, I guess, is the better prospect. He's in the UFC, of course. Yeah, I just don't know. I mean, off the top of my head, I couldn't even really give you guys a prediction for this one, just because I'm not sure. I think Austin Hubbard should wrestle in this one here, because he's actually going to be a lot bigger than Mikhail, if I'm not mistaken, and he should be the better wrestler, but Mikhail should be the better striker. It's just a low-level lightweight fight, I'll be honest. I'm going to kind of lean Hubbard, but that could change. And now we've got a banger. This is a war. Hopefully not in the Apex. If this is in the Apex, I'll actually be kind of sad. I'm really hoping it's not in the Apex. It's Terrence McKinney taking on Esteban Ridovic. As you guys know, I love Esteban Ridovic. I was probably a little bit too hyped up on him when he took on Loic Radzhabov in his debut. He lost that fight. I mean, he looked kind of good, at least on the feet. And then he went in there against Kamala Kirk, and even then, I thought that he disappointed against Kamala Kirk, in my opinion. He showed no takedown defense whatsoever, and he showed a little bit of grappling holes, but what Esteban Ridovic is really good at doing is just being an incredibly aggressive striker, and that's kind of what Terrence McKinney does as well. He's very aggressive, but he's very sloppy. The technique for Terrence McKinney has been exposed to be almost non-existent, but he is a good wrestler. And if Terrence McKinney wrestles in this fight, I think he could beat Ridovic. I'm going to side with Ridovic for now by KO in round 1, just because Terrence McKinney is, like, so sloppy at striking. But, I mean, I could see McKinney taking him down and out-wrestling him, man. I really could. That's a fun fight. It's a close fight. I saw someone on Twitter post, like, there's a very obvious side, and when the line comes out, just absolutely smash it. I don't know who they're talking about, because I actually think this is quite a well-matched fight. I actually think it's quite close. But yeah, I'm actually curious to know. Let me know in the comments, who do you think wins this one? And now, Jocelyn Edwards versus Island Perez, UFC 302. I wouldn't put it on the pay-per-view, but apparently these two have really bad blood. If I'm not mistaken, wasn't it Island Perez that choked out Jocelyn Edwards in training at a gym or something like that? And now they've got, like, really bad blood. I don't really know anything about it, to be honest with you. I mean, I do, but I don't know a lot about it. These two don't like each other. I don't know. I don't know why you'd put them on a pay-per-view. I guess they're kind of expecting some sort of drama in the build-up. Maybe they're going to put them on UFC Countdown, maybe. But yeah, it's just a fight. You know, it's a fight that's on the card. Probably Perez wins it for the grappling. Jake Hadley taking on Charles Johnson. I love Charles Johnson, man. Nobody fights more often in the UFC than Charles Johnson. This guy's fighting all the time. He just beat Isaac Maksum, and now he's instantly returning against Jake Hadley. And Jake Hadley is not an easy opponent whatsoever. This is at that same fight card, I believe, that Terrence McKinney versus Esteban Ridovic is on. So hopefully that's like a fight night or a pay-per-view or something that's in front of a crowd, because this is a fun fight as well. I think Jake Hadley can beat Charles Johnson, though. Man, I mean, like, damn, the frustrating thing about the Charles Johnson versus Isaac Maksum fight is I could almost see it coming. I know hindsight is 2020. It always is. But I was saying that Charles Johnson's wrestling defense is pretty good, and people in my comments were saying, no, Charles Johnson's wrestling defense is terrible. But I still stood on that take that Charles Johnson's takedown defense was good. Man, Charles Johnson might beat Hadley, you know, because he is arguably the better striker, and his takedown defense should be good enough to defend takedowns against Hadley. I'm going to go with Hadley, though. He's a really good grappler. He's a better grappler than Johnson. I'm going to go with Hadley by sub, but that's a fun fight. And now, Emily Ducote taking on Vanessa Demopoulos. I've said it once, I've said it again. I don't think Demopoulos is any good. Ducote should beat her. With that being said, though, Ducote looked like maybe one of the worst fighters on planet Earth when she took on Angela Hill, and she did absolutely nothing but get beaten up for 3 rounds. Demopoulos, she's not as good as Ducote on the feet, and I think this fight takes place on the feet. Ducote is a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so she shouldn't be in too much trouble on the ground. Yeah, Ducote should be able to beat her. How is Demopoulos 4-2 in the UFC? What are we doing? What are we doing? Anyway, let's move on. Joanderson Brito taking on Jack Shaw. A very fun fight. I could see Joanderson Brito winning this one, to be honest with you, because I think Jack Shaw is too small for 145. I know he is a former bantamweight, and I think he struggled to make 135, so he moved up to 145. I still maintain that I don't like that move for Jack Shaw. I think he's too small for 145. I think we saw it in his last fight. No, he won his last fight against Makwan Amerikani, but it was relatively close. But even then, I think Joanderson Brito, I actually am going to do it. I think Joanderson Brito is going to be a really big underdog in this one here. He just managed to go out there, and he just beat Jonathan Pierce after getting out-grappled, which is why a lot of people will pick Jack Shaw. I think Brito's too big. I think he's too dangerous on the feet. I think he knocks out Jack Shaw. I don't like the move to 145 at all for Jack Shaw. So yeah, that's kind of just my early take on this matchup. Maybe the pick could change, it always can. But let's now move forward. Igor da Silva versus Andre Lima. Wasted opportunity to not do this in Brazil. They're doing it in Vegas. These are two young Brazilian prospects that are quite good. Igor da Silva's like 20 years old. Andre Lima's like 24 years old. Like, these guys are young. I think Andre Lima is the better prospect, though. He's a really, really good striker. And he's got decent takedown defense. I think he's going to be good enough to defend takedowns from Igor da Silva. And I think he's going to be better on the feet than da Silva. I was going to say, if I'm recalling correctly, I think I remember Igor da Silva being way too small for 125. Because I think he's a former strawweight. If I'm not wrong. But I do remember Igor da Silva's Contender Series fight, of course. But I think Andre Lima's going to be bigger in the matchup. He's going to be the better striker. I think he wins that one. I think he's the better prospect ultimately. And that's kind of what it comes down to. Now we've got Maheshate taking on Gabriel Benitez. This is like Benitez replacing Anshul Jabli to take on Maheshate. But to my knowledge, Maheshate versus Anshul Jabli was never agreed to on the Anshul Jabli side. I think Maheshate knocks out Gabriel Benitez. I think Benitez has been finished too many times in his career. He's taking on a guy with power at this weight class at 155. I still think Benitez isn't the smallest guy at 155 either. I think Maheshate knocks him out, to be honest with you. And now we've got Felipe Lins versus Ion Cutelaba was announced. I think this is a fight that's actually been booked a few times. Am I correct in saying that? Someone's getting finished in the first, or it's going to be the most boring decision fight you have ever seen. I might side with Lins, but you can't trust either of these two. When this fight rolls around, don't put your money on it. They've put it in front of a crowd at $2.99. Soon. In about a month. Okay, that makes sense. This is going to be a fun fight. These guys are going to absolutely brawl it out for the first round, and then they're going to be gassed. I think I might go with Lins. I don't know. I just don't know. It's one of those fights, man. I think I'll still be undecided by the time the fight rolls around. Bill Algeo taking on Kyle Nelson. I think Bill Algeo beats Kyle Nelson. I know Nelson's been on a bit of a run recently, beating a couple of guys like Blake Builder and Fernando Padilla. But Blake Builder just got smoked by Xiang Ruchoi. No, not Xiang Ruchoi. Sorry, Jiang Yang Li. And I think Bill Algeo is just that level above Kyle Nelson, to be honest. I think Algeo subs him. And now, this is actually one of the most interesting sort of announcements recently. Jose Johnson has been announced that he's going to be cutting down to 125 pounds. Jose Johnson is a flyweight. No, what am I on about? Jose Johnson is a bantamweight. He's 6 foot tall. He's 6 foot tall, trying to make 125. What is he doing, man? How is he going to make this weight class? I don't know. Lucas Rocha. Damn, if Jose Johnson makes the weight, I think he could beat Rocha, man. Rocha is... I think he's overrated. He's 17-1, man. People are going to be on this guy's nuts, but I'm not that sold on him yet. I'm going to pick Rocha, though, because I'm pretty confident Jose Johnson's going to not make 125. There's no way. Yeah, I'm going to pick Rocha, but I'm not sold on him going forward. Like, this guy's got a 17-1 record. It's a little bit hollow, and if you watch the tape, he's he doesn't impress that much, to be honest. Now we've got Barboza taking on Karakate. I saw a lot of people on the Karakate side on Tapology. I think Barboza submits her, to be honest with you. This is a little bit of me having a pretty bad take on Karakate. Actually, it wasn't even a bad take. It was fine, because I said that Karakate's fights are really, really boring, and she's a low-volume striker. And then she went out there against Carly Judas and had one of the highest volume fights on all time, again on the Contender Series. But if you actually watch Karakate's fights before the Contender Series, she does absolutely nothing. Nothing. She just kind of very low volume striker from range, but then all of a sudden against Judas, it's a high volume war. What a fight that was. What a weird fight it was from Mia, who had actually taped that fight and saw Karakate do absolutely nothing. I think Barboza, if she gets this fight down to the ground, I don't know how good Karakate's takedown defense is. I don't think it's great. I think it's all Barboza. I think she submits her. She's going to be an underdog. I'm pretty confident as well in that. Let's move on to this one here. I think this is the last one I've got to talk about in the video. Melissa Gatto taking on Victoria Dudikova. Just remind, it's Valentine's Day. Victoria Dudikova hasn't responded to my DM from months ago. Months ago. From like the start of last year, I think it was. I'm picking Dudikova. I think Dudikova's a really good prospect, man. She's really good at fighting. Valentine's Day. Damn. That was a rough one to look at. I guess I haven't talked about Schnell versus Usyk. I think Usyk wins. Usyk struggled a lot against Costa, though. I will say that much. I think Schnell has been finished too many times, though. Yeah. That's it for the video, guys. 15 minutes of 15 fights, I guess, something like that. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Victoria Dudikova on Valentine's Day, man. That's ruthless. If you made it to the end of the video, right now is a pretty good time to sign up to We Want Picks, and if you don't want to sign up and pay the $10 per month, you can actually just sign up and get a 3-day free trial with the code ARTEM, and then you can cancel during that 3-day free trial, and then choose if you want to continue spending $10 per month for the content that's there. Now's a good time to sign up, because now a lot of the bets from Angelo and Jacob have been placed, and the tools are all there and ready to rumble. Usually later on in the week is when the props drop, obviously, so that's when Jacob and Angelo do all of their bets. So yeah, that's kind of it. Now's a good time to sign up to We Want Picks using my code ARTEM. And with all that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video.